Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Synced Up Movement Basics, where we teach you all the fundamentals you need to know to get started moving in the marching arts. My name is Kyle Gwynn, and today we're going to go over the basic standing positions of ballet. The standing positions are super important because they teach us everything we need to know in relation to body alignment, stability, balance, control, and they're the overall foundation of everything we do in dance, which then directly translates to everything we do in the marching arts. Before we get started, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell icon down below so you can stay up to date with any videos we post in the future. And without further ado, let's get to dancing. Awesome, so like I said earlier, we're going to be going over the basic standing positions in ballet. There will be a total of 7 positions that we cover today. 5 standard positions and then 2 parallel versions that we'll cover a little bit later in the video. Like I said, these are the foundation of everything we do in dance, so it's important to be at least a little bit familiar with all of them. So we're going to start with first position. First position is where you have your heels connected and your toes apart. My legs are straight from the hips all the way down to the ankles, and my toes are pointing out towards the corners of the room. We also refer to this as the 45-degree angles, so you can either reference the corner of the room or 45-degree angles here. So my heels are together, my toes are apart, and my legs are straight and connected. So moving on from first position, we're going to move into second position. Second position is very similar to first. The only difference is that you're going to put a little bit of space between both of your feet. So my toes are still facing out to the corners of the 45-degree angles, but my heels are now in line with my shoulders. So there's a bit of open space between both of my heels. My legs are still straight, they're just not connected anymore. So unlike first, where everything was connected, we just add a little bit of space to move into second position. So moving on from second position, we're going to go into third position. Now, third, fourth, and fifth position are a little bit different in the sense that you're able to do 2 different sides with it. And what I mean is that you can do a right side third or a left side third. Essentially, whichever foot is in front, that is the side that you're doing. So go ahead and pick whichever leg you want to put in front first. I'm going to do my right leg. What you're going to do is you're going to take the heel of that front foot and line it up with the middle of the back foot. Connect it to there. So similar to first position where the heels were connected, except now the front foot's heel is in line with the middle of the back foot. My toes are still facing out to the corners and my legs are straight, but now they're connected again, different from second position. I'll give you a quick side preview of third position right here. And then if I want to transition to the other side, all I do is I take that back foot, my back foot currently is my left foot, and I just bring it around to the front and I connect that front foot heel to the middle of the back foot. So that was my right and left third position. And here is a side profile of that one more time. So moving on from third position, we're going to talk about fourth position now. Similar to when we transitioned from first to second position, we're going to take this position and just create some space between both of our feet. But instead of going side to side, we're going to go front to back. So whichever foot I have in front right now, that's my left foot currently, I'm going to just take a step out in front with that left foot. Give you a quick side profile here. It's not a large amount of space. I'm not trying to really reach with my feet, but I also want to make sure I'm not too shallow with this position either. Just a nice comfortable distance between both feet. If you notice from the front too, the front foot, the heel of that front foot is in line with the toe of the back foot. So in third position, we had that front heel connected to the middle of the back foot, but in fourth, we have a little bit different here where we're trying to get that heel in line with the toe instead of the middle of the foot. So just be careful that you find that alignment as you go through. Similar to third position, you can also do a right and a left side, and the way to transition is just take whatever back foot is behind and place it in front. Again, making sure that that front heel is in line with the back toe. Similar to all the other positions, my legs are straight and my toes are pointing out towards the corners. Moving on from fourth position, we're going to cover our last position, which will be fifth. So I'm going to take my fourth position that I'm in currently, and I'm just going to close off the space between both of my feet. I'm going to take that front foot, which is currently my right foot, and I'm going to connect the heel of that front foot to the toe of the back foot. So instead of them just being in line, they're actually connected together currently. Here's a quick side profile of that right now. When I'm in this position, similar to all the other positions, my legs are straight and my toes are facing out towards the corners of the room. And then similar to third and fourth position, I can do a right and a left side to this. So all I have to do is take my back foot, bring it around to the front, and then connect that new heel to the toe of the back foot. If you've never done this position before, it's gonna feel just a little bit awkward, but that's okay because over time, as you practice it, it'll become a little bit more comfortable. Now that we've gone over the 5 standard positions in ballet, I want to talk about the 2 parallel variants that I had mentioned earlier in the video. When it comes down to it, you're really only going to see these positions in first and second. You don't really see parallel variants of third, fourth, and fifth. Not saying that they don't exist, however, you're just going to more commonly see them in first and second, and so we're just going to focus on those 2 today. So we're going to start in first position. Toes are facing towards the corners like we did earlier. So to get to parallel first position, all I'm gonna do is bring both of my toes to face flat to the front of the room. My legs are still connected together, my heels are connected together, and my toes are connected together. So my feet make 2 parallel lines. Now, along with this, when it comes to parallel first position, there is the variation of doing open parallel first, where you have your feet in line with your hips, and it just creates a little bit of space between both of your feet. They're still creating 2 parallel lines. This is also considered parallel first, even though it's a little bit different. It's just either closed parallel first or open parallel first, but it's good to know both of them. Moving on from parallel first position, we're gonna go into parallel second. So let's take a step out into our second position we talked about earlier. My toes are facing towards the corners, my heels have space between them, and my legs are straight. Similar to first parallel, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring those toes and have them face inward to face forward. My feet are making 2 parallel lines, and my heels are in line with my shoulders. So be careful that when you're doing open first parallel, that there's not this weird in-between space that's kind of in between that open first and that parallel second position. So just make sure that your heels are in line with your shoulders and there's a bit of space. Again, both of your feet are making 2 parallel lines. Now that we've covered all of the positions that we wanted to go over today, I want to go into a little bit more detail of our body alignment and some other things that we need to just be aware of as we're working in and out of these positions. The first thing I want to cover is something called turnout. Turnout is a term that basically just means rotation. So if you remember, as I was going through all the standard standing positions, we talked about how our toes always face the corners of the room. That happens because of turnout and the rotation we have in our leg. So I want you just real quick, take your leg out in front of you. Just kind of have it extended out in front of you. I want you to feel the leg rotate in and out, back, side to side. This happens from the hip. Be careful that it's not just the ankle that's rotating or the knee that's rotating. You want it to be a full leg rotation that's starting from the hip socket. Yeah? So when I'm standing in my first position, second, third, or fourth, or fifth, I am always thinking about rotating from my hips to allow my entire leg to open towards the corners of the room. When I'm in parallel positions, I don't have my rotation open up. I have it close in to create 2 parallel lines. Be careful that you don't rotate too far inward where it turns in towards each other. You don't want that. You want it to make sure that it stays flat to the front for parallel or open for your turned out positions. Since rotation is initiated from the hips, those are the next things I'd like to talk about real quick. Regardless of whatever position you're in, you always want to make sure that your hips are square and flat to the front. What I mean by that is you don't want your hips swaying side to side to where they're facing corners or sides of the room, and you don't want them tilting up and down. Squareness means that they're flat and not tilted, and flat to the front means that they are flat to the front. So you don't want any kind of swaying. An analogy I like to use is imagine that there are 2 headlights shining out from your hips, and those always need to shine forward. If they tilt to face this way or veer off to the side, you're gonna blind the person in the next lane or you won't be able to see where you're driving, yeah? So just make sure that whenever you're in these positions, it's always flat to the front. For first and second position, it's fairly easy. But when we start getting into positions like third, fourth, and especially fifth position, we tend to want to favor that back leg and let that hip kind of open up. So be careful that you're really trying to counteract that and keep your hips flat to the front. As you're practicing these positions, feel free to look down and make sure that all of this alignment is proper. So the next thing I want to talk about in our body alignment portion of this video is the pelvis. The pelvis is the region of your body that connects your lower half to your upper half. Essentially what you want to do with this portion of your body is just make sure that it stays tucked and neutral. And what I mean by that is if I give you a side profile right now, I don't want to stick my tailbone out like so, and I don't want to scoop so far underneath to where it's creating this kind of C-curve shape. I want to just have like a neutral standing position with my pelvis. A good way to double check and make sure that that's happening is take one hand, place it slightly below your stomach, and then take the other hand and place it on top of your tailbone right here. And just kind of feel the motion of rocking it back and forth so you can feel the extremities of what is incorrect and then what is correct. And then find that neutral shape where it feels nice and solid and a straight line from the base of your heels all the way to the top of your pelvis. Just making sure, again, we're not trying to push that tailbone out or scoop it too far underneath. We want nice and neutral for this position in our pelvis. Connected to our pelvis is gonna be our spine. We wanna make sure that when it comes to our spine, same with the pelvis, we just want a neutral and straight position. So we wanna be careful that we're not curving at the lower back or splaying our ribs open, or we're bending too far forward. While we're tucking our pelvis, we just want to make sure that that spine stays nice and neutral and straight as we go through. The ultimate goal is to create one straight line from the base of the heels all the way to the top of the head. Your skull is connected to your spine, so that's a part of it as well. So just making sure that we create one solid straight line with no splaying of the chest, no curving of the back, or pushing up the pelvis of any sort. We just want one nice straight line. The next thing that I want to cover is our head and our shoulders. Essentially, you just want to make sure that your shoulders are not rising up towards your ears in this kind of awkward feeling and awkward looking shape. You want to make sure those are pressed down and there's space in your chest. You want to be careful that it doesn't translate to the splaying of the ribs like we talked earlier, but more so just a lifting of the chest and a pressing down of the shoulders. A good exercise you can do for this to make sure that it's proper is lift your shoulder up to your ear, press it back, and then press it down. That'll open up your chest, connect your shoulders and press them down in the back behind you, and make sure that they're positioned properly. And then when it comes to the head, you wanna make sure that you're not tilting it to the side or letting it drop down. You wanna give it a nice neutral shaping with just a soft amount of lift in the chin. A good way to check of how much you wanna lift that chin is take your hand, create an L shape, place the pointer finger on your chin and your thumb on your sternum. And that's about a solid neutral shaping of how much you should be lifted. In some cases, you may want to present a little bit higher depending on like a certain venue you may be in, but as a neutral standpoint, just a soft lift with your shoulders pressed down. So just to recap everything that we've covered today, we went over 7 total standing positions in ballet. The 5 standard positions of turned out first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And then we also went over the parallel variants of first and second. Remember, for parallel first, you can either do closed parallel first or slightly open parallel first. And then we also went over body alignment related things such as turnout, our pelvis, our hips, our spine, shoulders, and our head. Just making sure ultimately we're looking for a nice, solid, straight line and neutral positionings, being careful not to hyperextend in our shoulders or create these awkward shapings that may not feel super great. Make sure you take the time to practice each of these positions. As you do that, they'll become more and more comfortable and it'll become more muscle memory over time. And whenever someone asks you to stand in first position, you'll know exactly what that feels like and not have any question about it. Awesome, thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I hope you learned something new. If you found the video helpful in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to leave a like and a comment down below with any questions you may have. Or if you have ideas for future videos you would like to see, go ahead and comment that down below too. I'll see you guys in the next one, and happy dancing.